This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Any injuries sustained on the last episode are not the responsibility of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
For this week's Hyperthetical, we are taking a look at two different pieces of Star Wars content. The first is Jedi Lost, which is the audio drama written by Kevin Scott. The second is the novel Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray.
When he originally went back to Sereno for this fair, and he was in the temple with Jenza, and basically this dragon sort of called to him through the Force, and he became in this trance. And Jenza was like, "Oh, don't touch it, it's bad luck." And then as soon as he did, the entire temple just kind of crumbled down around them. Was huge because that's when he found out
this guy's kind of a jerk, Plus the flagrant use of the term something a chicken does with an egg throughout the book, I felt was a little off-putting. I was like, is that a Star Wars term?
Saber Clash. All this is coming soon to an abandoned mall parking lot near you, so be sure to check the schedule. I know you hold my reputation as an influencer in high esteem. It's not easy to be so despised, I can assure you. But let me add an F in front of the U and become a funfluencer. I can assure and attest to you that I have personally tested all of these rides, games, and toilets and came away a different person and will never do them again. And so there's more fun for you, scoundrels. So book your plans now with a yearly payment plan that won't cost you an arm and a leg. Yet. Back to you, Dennis.
Sounds like you had a really great time.
And tetanus shot.
Well, with that out of the way, hello, Scoundrels, and welcome back. Here's the agenda for this week's show. In the news, we're discussing Celebration, interviews about the Rise of Skywalker, and Daisy Ridley on the interview circuit. Our discussion this week focuses on Rey, where she has been and where she is going. We have some listener feedback to address and silence fools. Thanks for joining us once again, Scoundrel Nation. This is episode 82 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
It's not a long time ago. It's not in a galaxy far, far away. It's right here, right now. Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. The source for Star Wars news and discussions with your hosts, Dennis Keithley.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Jay Krebs.
Yeah, but it's custom faded.
And Darth Taxus. Get ready for fast-flying, saber-swinging, hot space opinions from your hosts, analysis, and other stuff, fun stuff. I'm not your host. I'm just a generic, unpaid announcer.
Thanks, Mario.
Hooray! Scoundrels, you've returned to the podcast that likes to raise the bar so we can remember raising. I'm your co-host, getting darker by the day,
Darth Taxus!
coming to you from the Sun Rays intensification room of my flagship, the Assessor Collector. And with me are my co-hosts, singing the tone between Do and Fa, Dennis the Phantom Menace Keithley, and Jay the Hut Jair Krebs. Dennis and Jay.
Well, hello, Scoundrel Nation. I am Jay Krebs, but I am a little confused because there's two tones between Do and Fa. There's Rey, which I get because we're talking about Rey tonight, but then there's also me.
Well, you don't.
How are you, Dennis?
You don't talk about me too much, so that's why.
Oh, so that's why you wanted to include it.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, if you more me, less you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, good to talk to you guys this evening.
Hello.
So, I'm excited for tonight's episode of Starship Sabers and Scoundrels. It's just one of those times a year where we are past Celebration and we have the D23 Expo coming up. So the news is not anything like real spectacular and deep, but there's some fun things to get into in just a bit. But before we do that, what's everyone been up to with Star Wars recently? So myself, I've finished Alphabet Squadron, and I'm looking forward to talking about that with you guys at some point in the near future. other than watching the movies a couple times, not a whole lot else. But what have you two been doing?
Well, I'm glad you finished Alphabet Squadron, so I'm really stoked to talk about that one. So hopefully we get to do that soon. Yes. But I actually have quite a few things going on, just little things here and there. If you listen to our That's So Wizard, the last episode, Scoundrels, I had mentioned that Prophecy Girl, the online store, was going to be closing forever on the 30th of June. Well, Christy has decided that she was going to go ahead and extend that sale because she found out that a lot of people didn't even realize she was closing until 1 or 2 days before she was ready to close. So she decided to go ahead and extend that. So if you do want anything from the store, everything is 50% off. So I would definitely hightail it on over there. I actually did get my Chosen One Racerback tank to kind of go along with my I Rebel one. So I'm really looking forward to getting that one. I did buy tickets to Empire Strikes Back in concert at Blossom Music Center here where I live. So I get to see the score to that one under the summer sky in August. Also, I was able to stop into a place here in my hometown that I knew was open for a while. Actually, they're celebrating their 1-year anniversary on the 13th of July. And I've been threatening to go in there forever and ever and ever. And it's this great little place called Operation Fandom. So hi, Josh, if you're listening. And so we actually sat there and stood there and talked for almost 2 hours, just kind of geeking out about everything. And he's got a really awesome store in there. So if you're ever in the Worcester, Ohio area, for whatever reason, if you're coming to the All-Star game in Cleveland, we're only about an hour and 20 minutes south. So
or
check him out.
Contract on a hit.
There you go. That too.
Okay.
If you're a bounty hunter, yes.
I just want to throw diversity out there. So
yes,
okay.
Absolutely. And I decided to put my coffee cups to good use, all my Star Wars coffee cups, and because I don't really drink a whole lot of coffee, so I planted succulents in them. But I have an R2-D2, a Boba Fett, and a Yoda that I planted some succulents in. So they have now taken over a little part of my downstairs porch under my deck. But yeah, and I'm watching Galaxy of Adventures and Star Wars by the Numbers again. Oh my gosh, those are so good. So they're so enjoyable.
So that shop's 1-year anniversary is July 13th?
Yes.
Isn't that really unlucky?
I guess not, because they're still in business.
Okay. I'm confused by your Earth customs. Just saying.
So what about you, Tax?
I was going to say, no, I got tickets for the Empire Strikes Back in concert down here in Dallas.
Nice.
So I'm excited for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming up at the end of August, if I remember correctly.
Good.
And I hired a punk band to just play loud music behind me while I'm watching Empire Strikes Back in my garage.
Cool.
Yeah, it is.
How's that working out?
It's terrible. It's a terrible plan. So, for me, anytime I come across new fans and stuff, I like to, kind of glad hand them and say, hey, and I had a couple at the office I found out were fans. And so, hi, I'm sorry, you're so below me. I don't even remember your name, but I just know you're a fan. So I apologize.
Dude.
I don't know. I mean, it's not like they're going to be there too long after what I saw, the layoff report. Oh, whoa. Sorry. But anyway, hey, I hope you're listening and enjoying the Star Wars podcast. Yeah.
Goodness.
Alrighty then. Well, with that out of the way, I'm not sure how to follow that up, but let's do our best and head on over to the news. Well, as I was saying earlier, it's kind of a weird time of year because there's not a lot of big stories coming out, but there's a fun collection of smaller news stories this week. So
it is fun.
Jay, go ahead and get us started with what we got going on first.
All right. Well, tickets for Star Wars Celebration Anaheim in 2020 are moving very quickly. In fact, most of the adult tickets are completely sold out. Adult 4-day passes sold out the day they went on sale. Shortly thereafter, adult tickets for Saturday sold out, and now adult passes for the Friday of Celebration are gone. The only tickets left for adults are Thursday and Sunday. that kind of surprises me in a way, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
So if you need tickets, they do have the Lite, LYTE ticket exchange, which is an option, but it hasn't opened yet. And yeah, and beware too, because tickets are on eBay, but they are a very, very high markup. So
I'm just
Scoundrels.
I'm just laughing at the spelling of light because my first base was a Fender P bass light, and it was all in cursive and misspelled like that. So, yeah.
I gotta tell you, I'm really surprised at how quickly they went. I mean, it took a couple weeks for Chicago for tickets to sell out. So I don't know if it's just because the Anaheim Convention Center is smaller than Chicago, but even then, I'm not even sure that makes a difference because it's not like they use the entire Chicago Convention Center for celebration. But they only use a portion of McCormick West. But I genuinely think that there was such a positive buzz coming out of Chicago that probably more people wanted to go and got in on it earlier this time. Because I heard people that miss Chicago, especially with this podcast. This was the first big celebration where we've been as deep into it and covering it as much as we did. And now the feedback afterwards, so I'm a little more in tune to what the community is doing, and it seems like a lot more people want to go. Just want to cool. experience it. Yeah. So I think that had something to do with it. But even then, for the 4-day adult passes to sell out, and then immediately have the Saturday and then Friday go out as well, that's just crazy. It's every celebration they're going faster and faster now.
So, I mean, okay, that's interesting. I'd like to actually look at the demographics. Like, was there some sort of specific market more so concentrated in this region, than, say, in the Midwest, Northern Midwest? You know what I mean? I wouldn't think so, but you're right, Dennis. It was kind of shocking that, all of a sudden, Jeff McGee from the Geek Supremes all, texting, dude, they're all gone. I'm like, whoa! And that was a couple hours after they went on sale? Within 2 hours. It was amazing. So, I mean, I don't know. I just wonder about the future. Not that it's a bad thing, but couldn't you see them doing more of a calendar type event, sort of in different maybe regions where people have more of an opportunity to attend if it's always being sold out like this?
Well, if they keep rotating it like they have, because we had Anaheim, Orlando, Chicago, and now back to Anaheim. If they keep rotating it to the country, there's a couple things you said I'm going to respond to. One, I know there was an awful lot of people from the Midwest that hadn't been in Orlando and hadn't gone to Anaheim that were in Chicago. I suspect there's going to be a lot more. The percentage of people going to Anaheim is going to be a higher percentage of people on the West Coast than the previous two celebrations.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I've heard from a number of people that live in Florida and various places on the East Coast that Anaheim is just not doable for them. And I understand that. But so I hope they keep moving it around. As to it being an event that happens multiple times during the year, I really don't foresee that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because one, you're not going to be able to get all that talent in one place multiple times per year. Two, it's not inexpensive to do. And it takes a lot of planning for something that huge.
Sure.
And, I think if you can't make it to Celebration, your best bet to get some of those things is to keep an eye on your local conventions. Because, like I said, there's D23s coming out, and we're likely to get a lot of Star Wars news then, or some more reveals. I'm guessing we're going to hear some more stuff about what's going on at D23. Probably wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of a clip or something that came out for the Rise of Skywalker, maybe not. And more stuff about the Mandalorian. So I expect to hear some stuff then. You have opportunities, but I just, if they start doing celebration type events multiple times a year, you're diluting each one of them. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that's what they're going to do.
So do you think, for example, Houston is one of our favorite cities. We all agree on that. Do you think that Houston is of the size to be able to support an event like that? Because I've been told, for example, Dallas doesn't necessarily have the local hotel infrastructure to where people can easily access the convention.
It doesn't. It simply doesn't.
You hear that, Dallas?
That's our backyard, Taxus.
Yeah, it is.
And we go down to Fan Expo Dallas, and we have a great time, but there's not a lot of hotel space with an easy walking distance of that. There's not a whole lot of great downtown locations. I have no idea what Houston's convention space is like, so I couldn't speak intelligently about that.
Maybe we need a Scoundrels field trip down there during a convention, Dennis. I don't know. Sounds kind of fun.
You find one that's got a good Star Wars presence, and I'll consider that. But
by the way, land investors, just say the word. I've got the Assessor Collector just parked in a geosynchronous orbit over Dallas. I will clear so much real estate for you, just with one push of a button. Just tell me. It's okay.
Well, yeah, and I'm telling you, I'm just saying, Cleveland has hosted the Republican convention, and we have also hosted the All-Star Game several times, and we also have it this year. So Cleveland could be an amazing place to have celebration.
I mean,
there's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to do. Cleveland rocks.
Cleveland does rock.
It does. So that's my vote. But who knows? It'll probably never be there. But
I'd like Cleveland. That'd be cool.
Cleveland's an amazing city. It really is.
Yeah, and they're having the NFL draft next year too.
Yes, they are.
The only way it could be better if they named it Hatchetland.
Well, if something like Celebration wanted to come to North Texas, it wouldn't be Dallas. It would probably be Arlington, which has a much bigger hotel center around their convention center and Six Flags and the ballpark in Arlington and the Cowboys Stadium.
I don't know where this place is.
But anyways, I would expect if they were to do it in something like North Texas, which I just don't think they will, because it's there isn't a single set of a great convention center for here. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Jay, about the All-Star Game and stuff like that. Yeah, that rotates through all the ballparks, and they all get it at some point. It's something that's been on, and they don't really exclude anybody. I can't speak intelligently about Cleveland either, although I know there's going to be a whole lot of NFL fans there next year for the draft. So with that said, let's call a quick audible. Jay, there was something that you discovered in the news. You want to go ahead and add it here?
Oh, yes. So here's something exciting. Hayden Christensen, the chosen one himself, will be attending London Film and Comic-Con. So he will be there at Olympia, London from 26th to the 28th of July. So this came from our friends over at Fanthetrax. And this is his first ever European convention appearance. So what does this mean? I mean, he was at Celebration and now he's going to be in London. Could this be a prophecy?
I was about to say, when one doth appear at Celebration and then in Europe, thou shalt be there.
In the movie called Rise of Skywalker?
Something.
Perhaps?
Whoa.
What do you guys think?
Whoa.
Well, that would be exciting if that's what it means. I think for Hayden, he's started getting back into the Star Wars community. He was there in Orlando a couple of years ago, and now he's back here. I think it's an opportunity. I can't imagine, unless they were going to give away something about the Rise of Skywalker at London, that this is a way of signaling that. But I hope it's a precursor to some to appearance in the Rise of Skywalker or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm telling you, he needs to make an appearance because, yeah.
Plus, I like him just getting back into the swing of things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think. I think the people that go to these conventions and I think the people that are there and having fun with each other aren't these and I'm just going to say weirdos who are all, the original Star Wars and my Star Wars and anything after that. It's like, oh gosh, guys. Okay, whatever. I'm sick of it, and I actually still run into people like that. And they're just, and I'll tell you what, they're not the kind of people like we are, where we're kind of engaged in the community. We're going out to these things. We're having fun with each other and everything. And they can live in their little worlds like that. That's fine. I want to have fun, and I want to have fun with Hayden Christensen.
Whoa.
That came out weird.
A little bit.
Yeah, it did.
So, speaking of the Rise of Skywalker, though, I think, Taxus, don't you have a little bit more news on someone that may or may not be in it as well?
Why, yes, I do. An excellent segue, Jay. In an interview with the Red Carpet for Child's Play on June 20th, Mark Hamill, who played the voice of Chucky, was asked whether The Rise of Skywalker would be his last appearance as Luke Skywalker. Hamill replied, I really hope so. I mean, I really hope so, with a chuckle. He elaborated that he had closure in the last film with his character, but the fact that I'm involved in any capacity is only because of that peculiar aspect of the Star Wars mythology, where if you're a Jedi, you get to come back, make a certain curtain call as a Force ghost. And by the way, I quoted and then inserted another quote with the word Star Wars in that quote. Forgot to disclose that. Sorry.
Well, you're talented.
I am.
Yeah. So, again, as we're going to find out again here with a couple other Star Wars actors, they can't go do anything or promote anything, and we all know this, without them getting asked about Star Wars. And so, yeah, he was out there for Child's Play, and he gets asked about this. And I don't know if you've seen the video. I mean, this is one of those things that as soon as I saw it, it's like, oh no, this is going to get bent out of shape about people saying that, he's done with Star Wars. He doesn't want to be more Star Wars. But I'm really glad that he followed it up with the, that line that, it's because his character had closure. And he's right. Luke did have closure there. But who among us actually believed that was the last time we were going to see Luke when there was another movie left in the saga?
Right.
Me. Over here. I want to answer.
Really? You honestly did? You go ahead.
No, I was going to say
Taxus?
no. I was just raising my hand because I thought that was a question for the class.
Oh, okay.
Was it rhetorical?
Yeah. But at any rate, I mean, I think we all knew that this was coming, that he was going to be in this movie, and it's no big surprise at all that I'm anticipating he'll show up in some sort of a mentor role for Rey, or perhaps he'll come back and say something to Kylo. But beyond that, I don't know what the full scope of his role is. But in the tradition of Force ghosts, Obi-Wan comes back to counsel Luke. Yoda came back and counseled Luke again. So that's what happens in Star Wars.
And that's why I'm wondering if maybe Hayden will be back, because technically his Force ghost appeared at the end of Return of the Jedi. And if you watch Special Edition, of course, you see Hayden and, not the original version, but he technically hasn't had his curtain call yet. So could he be training someone else, or could he just appear as a Force vision? So I'm wondering if, Mark Hamill was meant to even be cryptic with this, or if he was just saying, this is going to be the curtain call.
Or could Hayden be a clone of himself and is the hairy hands who's making the mask?
Okay. I guess you never know.
Completely wheels off. I'm sorry. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Well, speaking of The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars newcomer Keri Russell revealed that she was a little overwhelmed when she read J.J. Abrams' script for the upcoming movie. In an interview with the AP, she stated, "When I read his script that he wrote, I cried," she told the Associated Press. "I mean, who knows what it will turn out to be, and I hope it remains true to what he originally wanted." She would go on to say that when JJ told her she would need to wear a helmet, she replied, "I was like, this is my dream job. I can see everyone and no one can see me. Hello, amazing." She's
great.
also a pretty big fan of Star Wars, and she said that she had a bunch of memories of Princess Leia and Chewbacca and Han Solo, and like everyone does, and so it's incredible and to get to be in this movie at all. So I'm glad that it's not like Star Wars is this obscure property, and so anyone who gets cast in it has likely seen it at some point. They may not be as big a fan as you and I are, but I do like it when they do cast people who are genuinely excited to have the role.
Yeah, sure. And last time somebody told me that I got a job and I'd have to wear a helmet, things did not end up very well for me.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's not good. But I love how she says, I have such memories of them, like everyone does. Because as you said, Dennis, this isn't an obscure property, but yet it's a collective emotion that I think probably, I would say, wouldn't you say like 90% of the American population, at least, if not the, first world of the entire globe has seen Star Wars? You know what I mean? I mean, not to like set us apart, and say, first world, third world countries.
Oh, no, it's okay. We're much better. It's all right.
Because third world countries, I don't think necessarily all of them have access, but maybe they do. So, but it's all inclusive, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it is. I mean, it's big all over the place. It's big all over the world. And so it's the, Yeah, and it is something that, as we've seen at, we've just been talking about Celebration, but at Celebration, everyone else, that it gets a response from people. Star Wars is such a part of the zeitgeist. Everyone, there's touchstones on it. We all know, I am your father and may the force be with you and stuff like that. That, there's not many movies that can claim that much cultural relevance for as long as Star Wars has been able to. Go anywhere and you're going to start, you'll see, with any number of crowds, and you're pretty much guaranteed to see someone wearing a Star Wars t-shirt.
Yeah.
But I'm glad, like I said, I'm just, thrilled that she's excited for this. I know she and JJ have collaborated on lots of television and movies and things like that. So, and he likes to put his friends in his projects, but I'm glad it's more than that she's actually excited.
Did he write and direct Felicity?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I never watched it. Huh. But what I was going to say, though, that's a good question. Scoundrels, if you know, let us know. sqpod@retrozap.com. But at any rate, everybody, it seems like that gets cast for any Star Wars of any kind, whether it's one of the movies, whether it's, being part of The Mandalorian or Clone Wars or Rebels or whatever. They're all fans. And it's not like other movies that you hear, oh yeah, I got the part and it's exciting and I'm going to do my best. Everybody that gets cast for this is Star Wars. Yes, and it's almost this overwhelming, like she said, response emotionally to be part of something like that. And I don't think that exists in any other franchise. No. Well, and you remember when the prequels were coming around, how badly Samuel Jackson wanted to be in one of those movies. So, he told George Lucas, make me a stormtrooper. I don't care. I just want to be in the movie. And then you have Daniel Craig, James Bond himself, as a First Order stormtrooper in The Force Awakens. So, just a cameo. And he loved it.
By the way, Daniel Craig would probably work out well as a First Order officer. Or even a villain at some point. He's got some gravitas. Is that the word? You know what I mean? I just always thought, that was great that he wanted to do it. Maybe they should use him for something bigger and better in the future. Anyway, as an aside. Yeah.
Well, his schedule may not, James Bond's not a small property either. He may not have had the time for much more than that. But Jay, we got some book news. Why don't you go ahead and share that?
We do indeed. And as with its predecessors, Timothy Zahn's Thrawn Treason is getting a variant cover at San Diego Comic-Con. The alternate cover features Thrawn sitting in a chair in a dimly lit room with a legion of Chiss standing behind him. Huh. San Diego Comic-Con takes place from July 18th through the 21st. Oof, this is exciting. That cover is awesome.
Yeah, you're
red eyes.
Yeah, you're a big collector of the alternate covers, aren't you?
I am. And I was actually just looking the other day on eBay to try to find Queen's Shadow, and it's still a little too expensive for me. So, yeah. But yeah, this one looks so great. The original cover is awesome too, with the Emperor looming over his shoulder. But wow, yeah, a lot of red eyes in that room. What do you guys think of it?
Oh, it's cool.
It's kind of reminiscent to me of a Smurfs episode where Papa Smurf was ascending over everybody and all the other Smurfs were standing behind him. You don't remember that?
Yeah, I like this cover. I'm good with the regular one as well, because the primary cover, which is with Thrawn, kind of a close up of his face with the Emperor standing on his shoulder. It's a very similar style to what they did with the first Thrawn novel, and then Thrawn Alliances. And so, I don't have any of the variants, and that's the one I'll go with. But these San Diego Comic-Con exclusives are kind of hard to get.
Yeah.
As Jay, you were alluding to with the Queen's Shadow variant, the ones at Celebration I really like the Master and Apprentice variant cover. But every day I got to that desk, they'd already handed out all the wristbands, and nope, they were gone. You had to be there well early and race to that desk in order to get them.
Right.
And they're doing a similar wristband set up for San Diego Comic-Con. So I hope everyone who wants one gets one, and it's not just scooped up by the scalpers to sell on the secondary market.
Yes.
But it is one. It is one per customer. So at least, there won't be a run of people buying 10 with the intention of selling them online.
Oh, because I had a little hookup last year a benefactor who will remain nameless, but was able to get me the last variant cover with Anakin on it signed by Timothy Zahn. So I'm actually looking at that one right now.
George Lucas.
Yeah. Shh. But yeah, the variant cover for Queen Shadow is still on eBay for $55. So I mean, that's not horrible, but it's still a markup. But,
hold on, guys.
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
Is that a Jake break?
Hold on. Do you hear that? The mower? Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a Jake break in the background.
Somebody's mowing. So I got a question. It's a serious question. Looking at the main cover, and you know how they always do like the juxtaposition of the red and the blue and all the Star Wars posters and everything?
Okay.
I was just wondering if like there's like that purposeful light transition between the backside of Thrawn's face and the front side of his face, you know, with the blue and the red, or is that the Emperor igniting his lightsaber behind Thrawn? I don't know. It's just kind of like a tense thing. What do y'all think?
Yeah, Emperor's throwing some major red shade there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, to me, as an artist, you wouldn't necessarily want to hide the lightsaber. If there's supposed to be a lightsaber in the scene on that cover, I think because if that's the case, if it's the light from the lightsaber, the Emperor would have to be holding like his lightsaber out at arm's length away from his body because he's got a lot of red light on the side of his hood and his face as well. So I think it's a light source coming from elsewhere, would be my guess. And I'm also not certain that you can necessarily read too much more into it than that. I don't think that's giving anything. Now, that being said, the description of this book is that Zahn is, having to make some choices that may set him at odds with the Empire and that oath he took to the Emperor. And so, maybe that is, kind of what the Emperor is doing over his shoulder is, looking on disapprovingly. And, and with that variant cover, you've got, all those Chiss standing behind Thrawn, because he's having to make a choice. So I don't know. I like the idea, but I'm not sure that it's actually the lightsaber though.
Wow. And Thrawn manspread much? I mean, whoa.
That's an awesome picture though. My Lord. So do you think Thrawn will ever come to live action? What do you guys think?
No, I don't think so. It's, I can't remember which one of the actors everyone was guessing that might be Thrawn in the Rise of Skywalker, and it turned out not to be the case, as we saw in the Vanity Fair pictures. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those characters that has got so much history and backstory in the books and in Rebels that I think it would be hard to translate over to the movies, to the saga right now. I guess I'd have to rephrase that. It's definitely not going to be in the Rise of Skywalker. If he's going to show up in a movie, it's going to be something unrelated to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I just know that the banner at Celebration Chicago, everyone was saying how Thrawn looked like Pierce Brosnan, which I could totally see that. Absolutely 100%. Even in that mural. So that's why I was wondering if, does Jason Palmer have a little bit of a insight or foresight?
I'm guessing he just used Pierce as a model for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that could definitely be the case too. I mean, that's a fair point.
All right, Taxus, what do we got next?
Well, Dennis, I'm glad you asked me, because a new LEGO Star Wars game is coming to consoles in 2020. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga will feature content from all 9 films in the Skywalker Saga, as well as 100s. I read that weird. It's really hundreds of characters and vehicles. I'm bad at math. The game will mark the debut of not only The Rise of Skywalker and LEGO Star Wars, but it will also mark the debut of The Last Jedi in the LEGO video game format, which we all know George Lucas still has his fingers in changing those LEGO video games, so...
I don't know about you guys, but this one is so exciting to me. I loved playing LEGO Star Wars, the video games. I remember when my kids and there was one summer where it was hotter than blue blazes outside, And so we would just, a lot of those hot, humid days where it was just, we had enough of the sprinkler or whatever, we just played Lego Star Wars for hours and hours and hours, and so much fun. I still every once in a while will pop that in and do the pod racer scene.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, so much fun. So
Yeah,
I'm excited about this. Yeah.
I played because they had the original trilogy one that came out first, and they followed up with the prequel one. But I played the collected saga, and I spent hours and hours and hours unlocking everything on that game. I got all the characters, I got all the gold hearts, I got all the gold bricks, everything in that one, and I really enjoyed it. Now I haven't been able to play all the Star Wars Lego games since then. My kids have, and they've been a lot of fun to watch. But just the small snippets of gameplay that I've seen here and there of okay, we need to pause. This thing is killing me. The mower.
Hold on 1 second, guys.
Oh, you're fine.
Hey! Cut it out! Yeah, stop it. Stop. Don't. That's it.
Are you? What?
And what is that noise? Oh, is it done?
Yeah. Looks like I'm going to need a new lawn crew for the assessor collector, though. So,
Oh boy.
yeah.
All right. Well, this last story is actually a collection of stories, and it has to do with Daisy Ridley, and she's been in the news quite a bit lately. So here's some of the highlights. First, not that it's any surprise, but Daisy has confirmed that she is not in the next Star Wars trilogy. When asked if she would be part of the next trilogy by BuzzFeed, she responded, "I think not," because Ryan always said if it's the Ryan one or it's the guys that did Game of Thrones, I'm not sure. Whichever it was, they always said it was going to be a separate story. So I'm not. No. I don't think that was a surprise. to
No,
anybody.
not at all.
So,
you know.
what I do think is a surprise, how she's like, is it the Ryan one or the, I don't know their names, the guys who did Game of Thrones? By the way, did you get my email, guys?
Well, that'll come up in a bit with Game of Thrones. But so anyways, and she doesn't, it's interesting, she knows a lot about Star Wars because she's in these movies, but a lot of these actors that have been in the movies, they don't know as much about the stories and the themes and everything like that as like a lot of the fans do who watch the movies over and over and over and over again. So at any rate, up next, despite that she's not in the next trilogy, it is possible that Daisy may return in a future Star Wars movie. While appearing on Good Morning America, Daisy was asked about her future involvement in Star Wars and replied instead about the final film of the saga. So this is kind of a non-denial confirmation, sort of a denial. But she says, what I would say is that it's a brilliant end to the story, talking about The Rise of Skywalker. And like JJ and Chris Terrio, who's the co-writer, have done an incredible job wrapping it up because there's so many references, obviously, to the 9 films, but it also exists in its own thing. So I think people are going to feel very satisfied. Okay, so she didn't say no, she didn't say yes, but again, I don't think any of us expected her to be in the Game of Thrones next trilogy, but I could see in 10, 15, 20 years them doing a new story and kind of have her come in and do a Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, or whatever type mentor role if she were interested.
Yeah.
But
yeah, she. Other than that, she's kind of a 3-hit wonder. Just kidding.
The 3-hit wonder.
She's other things. I mean, but no.
Well, I mean, all this is up. All this is coming out. She's out promoting Ophelia right now.
Right.
And so. And as I was saying earlier, you can't be in a Star Wars movie and then expect to promote anything else without being asked about Star Wars.
Yes, so true.
Or Hamlet.
Right. So later, Daisy was asked about the hug she shares with Carrie Fisher in the trailer for The Rise of Skywalker by Vulture. First, she was asked if she remembered the context of the moment, and she replied, "I do. It's not a million miles away from what the scene is. It was very sad. I found it very moving to watch it because I do remember the original. And it's a strange thing to do for someone that's not around anymore to be brought back to life. It's eerie that it resonates so much with what the story is this time. It's pretty amazing." And then Vulture asked, "Do you remember how you and Keri discussed playing the scene?" And Daisy responded, she was actually whispering, "This is a effing long hug." Whoa. I was trying to do my acting like, oh my God, Keri, there wasn't any discussion about what we were going to do.
That sounds like typical Keri. Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And now I'm really intrigued what the scene is all about and why, because she does have tears coming down her face while she's giving, Keri that hug.
Yes. Well, and as we discussed before, a lot of these scenes, as we found out at Celebration by listening to JJ, was that they basically, and in the Vanity Fair article, is that they basically wrote everything around her existing scenes.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a revisiting of all of those things, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some confusion because she's the mother-father embodiment of Anakin.
All right.
She's a clone, right? So that means she's the mommy-daddy.
Oh, jeez.
What? Well, I'm just saying. I mean, that's why Luke was all, I don't know. That's a theory, is that she's a clone. And so I just kind of wonder.
It is a theory.
I know.
It is one of the theories.
I just kind of wonder if that's why she's all like, and feels so familiar with her, and even Han to a certain extent, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Alrighty then. Well, she was also recently on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, again promoting Ophelia. During the conversation, she revealed how J.J. Abrams completely spoiled The Rise of Skywalker over a meal in a cafe in public after they got together to discuss the film. In that same appearance, she would go on to demonstrate her rapping skills with her rendition of Lil' Kim's Lady Marmalade. And she would later teach Jimmy how to pour the perfect pint because she used to work in a pub.
Oh, really?
So first,
I like it a lot more now.
Did either of you get to see her rap?
I did. This girl, she is so lovable. I'm telling you what, she is adorable. And I love how she just jumps in and she's fair game for anything.
I know.
But it was cracking me up because she was talking about this whole thing in this cafe. And she said he was speaking at normal tones, not trying to cover it up. And there's people all around. And she's thinking, hello, do you realize that you're telling me this entire story? Then she did go on to say that pretty much everything kind of changed after that anyway. So he didn't actually end up spoiling anything. But she is a very good rapper, or rapier, as she calls herself.
I mean, seriously, she switched from transition completely from birthday to Christmas to, anything. And she rapped all of them and put bows. It was great.
The girl's got skills.
I think she worked at Dillard's.
Right. So for a guy like J.J. Abrams, who has his mystery box, to just be discussing the film out in public like that blows me away. And, she said that when he told her about the story, she was surprised by it. She really liked it. She'd hoped a whole lot of things were going to change, but some things have, and that's inevitable in the movies. But again, just this notion that he would, again, like you were saying, Jay, that he'd be out just carelessly talking about the film in public like that just seems so against his character.
I guess he was just trying to hide things in plain sight. You know what I mean? Just that whole almost like reverse psychology. And maybe, wherever it was that they went, I can't imagine that people weren't looking at them and saying, oh, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
At least for Daisy, because I could understand not necessarily recognizing JJ if you're not up, if you're not in that kind of realm of paying attention to what directors look like and whatnot. But I mean,
like
Daisy, hello,
the waiters,
come on.
Bring them bread basket with a hidden microphone. Here's your bread.
Yeah.
Strangers.
I'm just wondering how those spoilers are. Now, I don't keep up with the rumor site, but just curious to me. It's like, how is this not all over the internet? Whatever the story was. So, and then
Daisy, if you're listening, you can pour me a pint anytime, honey.
Yeah, no kidding. She did well.
Come on over.
But I think the only thing that was funny about that is I think she was prepared to pour a pint of Guinness. And that's not what they gave her to pour.
No, so it was a little on the light side.
Yeah, she was trying to get that head of foam on the top of the beer like you would with a Guinness, and that's just not what that beer was.
Yeah, because Guinness confuses a lot of people on how to pour it out. I mean, I'm just saying, from the draft.
Well, she was schooling everybody too, because she was saying how, your darker lagers are bitter, so you have to have the head on the top to be able to counteract that bitter taste. But when she was pouring, it definitely wasn't the dark side of the beer; it was the light side of the beer.
So it's a black and tan.
But it was still beautiful anyway.
Yeah. So she did well. And then the last bit of news we have concerning Daisy, she may be up for the role of Batgirl in the Warner Brothers upcoming film Birds of Prey. So that would be an interesting take. she doesn't strike me as.
Me
I don't know
neither.
how you're familiar with the character, but that's Barbara Gordon.
Yeah.
And in most renditions of that character, it's not someone I envision Daisy playing, especially after she's done Rey, who is this strong, independent woman type that, not that Barbara Gordon isn't, but she's definitely more the sidekick type than Rey was. So anyway.
So the thing in my mind was that her face just seemed kind of different for it. You know what I mean? Like, anytime I've seen a rendition of Batgirl, her face has always been like super angular. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's traditional comic though. That's a comic book look. But the other thing is, like, how many people have been Batman? I mean, between with different Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale,
the best.
Ben Affleck, with all these, and they all have very different face styles. So it can be done.
Yeah.
I mean, they cast against race these days as well. So it's just for me, it's more the nature of the character than it is the look of the character that I just kind of found a little surprising. But hey, go for it, Daisy. That would be awesome.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I think, and too, makeup can do a lot also. Costumes can do a lot, so.
You're telling me, girlfriend.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our look at the news. For more on these stories, check out other sources such as StarWars.com, Jedi News, Fantatrax, TheForce.net, Coffee with Kenobi, and, of course, RetroZap. Well, with Daisy Ridley so much in the news the past couple of weeks, it only seemed natural to focus on Rey for this week's hypothetical discussion. And so we're not going to do a super in-depth conversation on her, but I have some questions I wanted to post to my co-hosts and get their thoughts. First, Jay, I want to start with you. If you had to pick one word to describe Rey, what would you pick?
The first word that pops to my mind is fierce.
Mm-hmm. And why did you pick that one?
Well, fierce can, I think, encompass a lot of different emotions than just, you can be fierce about your beliefs. You can be fierce about how much you love someone. You can be fierce in terms of how you handle yourself physically. And I just think that she's the embodiment of, that word. She's intense. You know what I mean? No matter what she does it full out, 110%. So that's the first thing that pops in my mind.
I like it. Taxus, if I had to ask you to pick one word to describe what Rey's flaw might be, what would you pick?
Dang you.
Not easy.
No, I got confused because I really liked her being intense because I like camping. Let's see. Flaw. Flaw.
Well, let me make it easier for you. It doesn't have to be one word, but if you had to identify her flaw, what would you say it was?
Kylo.
Okay. And why would you say that?
Because for some reason she seems to have a soft spot for him.
I'm not sure that's correct.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I mean, this is, I think you both kind of hit on something where I was kind of hoping to go with this conversation about Rey. When we first meet her on Jakku, she is a scavenger and she is staying there and supporting herself through a life of scavenging.
Dang it, I want to change my answer now.
Okay.
Family.
All right. So, as I was saying, she's on Jakku and she's supporting herself through a life of scavenging because she's waiting out the return of her family, which she believes to be imminent at some point. She's afraid to go anywhere lest they come back and be unable to find her. And then by the end of the movie, she has essentially joined the Resistance and volunteered to lead the search for Luke Skywalker once they have the map. There's a lot of things that happen over the course of the film. I mean, there's several moments where she's kind of rejecting the call, where we talk about the hero's journey. But at what point, Jay, do you think she changes her mind and kind of embraces this new role, this new life, this new destiny?
Oh gosh, that's a really tough question because I don't think that it was necessarily one incident necessarily that flipped it for her. I think it was a series of events. Gosh, I'm not really sure. Probably her aha moment was probably when she saw the maps come together. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
I think that moment. I think the moment that it came together for her is when she lifted the rocks, clearing the way.
I have done no research.
Okay, but that's in The Last Jedi.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about both of them. I'm sorry. You know.
Well, the question more specifically was, at what point, between the time that, she leaves Jakku and the end of The Force Awakens, and I may not phrase this correctly when I first asked it, did she make that flip from someone who was determined to stay on Jakku and wait for her family to adopting this mission of the Resistance and going after Luke? Because when at the end of, because here's kind of the point. When the last choice that she got to make all of her own, that wasn't completely dictated by the circumstances, was there at Maz Kanata's castle. She's already turned down Han Solo to join his crew on the Millennium Falcon because she has to get back to Jakku. She hears the lightsaber call to her in the basement at Maz's palace. And when she explores that, she has that vision, which I'm probably not going to get into in this conversation because that's a really in-depth topic unto its own.
Wow.
And then, when Maz is encouraging her to pick it up and start learning the ways of the Force, she rejects that and she starts running away. But then the First Order shows up and she has a confrontation with Kylo, and he uses a little Force trick on her, sends her unconscious, and brings her to Starkiller Base. After which point, she starts taking actions to free herself, but it's not until, the lightsaber duel, she has that lightsaber duel with Kylo, but then that's when she, but all those things are kind of dictated by the circumstances where I'm going with that. You see, am I making myself clear here? Because, after that, she doesn't have any obligations to any of these people in the Resistance. She doesn't have to go after Luke. So I guess what I'm getting at is, what about this experience changed her mind to put aside this quest for her family on Jakku in favor of working with the Resistance, going after Luke, and trying to get him to come back and help in this quest to save the galaxy from the First Order?
Well, I think some of that is the fact that she's always said from day one that something has always been there, and she wasn't sure what it was. And so that's why I said, these series of events that kind of led to that ultimate, oh my gosh, that's where he is moment. Because like you were saying, when she was at Starkiller Base, and she had even said before that, oh, I thought, Luke Skywalker, I thought he was a myth. Myth. And then she starts realizing that you're Han Solo. And she's meeting all of these people, and it's almost like these fables are coming to life, and it's giving her the realization that this is for real. And I think that when she tried the Force trick in Starkiller Base, with the stormtroopers we were talking about, who was Daniel Craig, that she was almost testing out, can I do this? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like she almost didn't. It's almost like when I was a kid and I tried to turn on and off the lights from my bed, with the Force.
With your mind.
With my mind, yeah. And so she was kind
in your bedroom that you couldn't see, and only came out at 2 a.m. like mine did.
His name was George, but that's another story. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all of these little moments that culminated for her, these little aha moments that finally led to her saying, this is my place. This is what I need to do.
Yeah, and I guess, so something occurs to me is she rejects the call of the lightsaber. Maz is encouraging her, it's calling to you, let the Force in. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I want nothing to do with that. And she runs off. But then she runs into Kylo there on Takodana, and he takes her to that interrogation chamber, and he starts prying into her mind with the Force. And after that is when she first starts to embrace that role. I mean, what did she have to lose? But trying the Force trick on Daniel Craig, as we were talking about earlier. But but then later, after Finn has been defeated by Kylo, she calls the lightsaber. And then again, later, Kylo was going after her about, you need a teacher and, teach the ways of the Force. And then she goes, the Force? She closes her eyes, and when she opens, she proceeds to kick his butt. So, this is just something I was thinking about today while I was kind of putting together some notes of this. Is like, Snoke claims to have forged this connection between Rey and Kylo, but did he? Or is this something that maybe Kylo did when he started using the Force to try and drag out what she knew about where Luke Skywalker was, and she pushed back, and that kind of broke forth the dam?
Yeah, so, okay, which movie was it that, Snoke claimed, oh, yes, I knew this, and blah, 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 and I did this? Was it The Force Awakens, or was it in The Last Jedi?
Well, that's a wonderfully vague description of a scene, but I'm assuming you're talking about...
wonderfully vague.
But I assume you're talking about in The Last Jedi when he was the one who claimed to have created the link between them.
Okay, fine. I'm going to call on that because... seriously, I mean, if he's the one that created the link, then how come he was like, and you're certain this girl? You know what I mean? In The Force Awakens, Which, I mean, come on. Darksiders lie all the time, right? But...
Wow, now that's an interesting point, because you've always said in the past that the Sith tell the truth.
From a certain point of view, when it doesn't suit their needs. But no, I mean, seriously, that's one of the things I just kind of hits me. It's like, in the beginning, in The Force Awakens, he's all like, if what you say is true or something like that, bring her to me and you'll complete your training, blah, 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 And yet he's all like, yeah, I knew you guys were connected, so that's why I did this. Ha ha ha. I don't know. I don't believe that anymore. I think that there's something else that connected them, not him.
What do you think, Jay?
I don't think that Snoke connected them either. I think that it's the will of the Force. And, just as I guess you could quote Dr. Ian Malcolm here and say, life finds a way. The Force finds a way. And I just think that that's what brought them together, it's the Force. And it's just this notion that it was meant to be. And I think that Snoke was just springboarding off of that. He was jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, and he used it, kind of to his advantage to take further advantage of Kylo Ren and his emotions and his feelings and his, everything about him, because he manipulated Kylo Ren from the start, emotionally, mentally, you know what I'm saying? So, why not utilize this, as they called it, this maybe bond between he and Rey as a way to control him and to control his, he's talking about controlling his or promoting his training, but I just think that there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, we don't have as much a history of Snoke as we do with the Emperor, but I get the feeling that the Emperor was much better at foreseeing things and putting things in motion that Snoke was. I believe that he discovered there was some sort of a link between the two of them and that he somehow manipulated it to try and get a certain result, but I'm not certain, after thinking about this and how Rey's powers really began to emerge, that he was necessarily responsible for that link.
Right.
Jay, you quoted this to us just recently on an episode. And then there is we were talking about prophecies about when the dark, the light rise, dark just rises, light meet it, that type of a thing with balance. And I think maybe someone like Snoke, a dark side user, was in there, but then maybe Rey was more the answer to Kylo, and that somehow forged a connection through the Force that someone like Snoke can take advantage of. But let's kind of move on a little bit here. But so she does. Why is it that we think that she's been willing to put aside the quest for her family and try and convince Luke to come back? I don't, without having thought about this a lot or talked it out yet, I'm not sure that I have an answer to that. But everyone was encouraging her to move on. Finn wanted her to move on. Han wanted her to move on. Leia never really had a chance to talk to her. But, when she got back from Starkiller Base, Leia embraced her. And so there seemed to be some sort of a bond there. But what do you think caused her to take up this cause, so to speak?
Wow, that's a really difficult question to answer, but I think a lot of it just has to do with the idea, that she's looking for belonging, and her normalcy on Jakku was waiting for her family to come back. And that was the one thing that kept her going from, day after day after day after day. And even though Kylo Ren told her, your parents, do you really want to know what happened to your parents? They're no one. They're in a grave on Jakku. They sold you for drinking money. You don't need to worry about them. No one cares about you, but I do. So I don't think that was her moment that she was necessarily giving up, but I think that she was finally seeing, once she stepped off of Jakku, that there was a bigger picture, and that family doesn't necessarily have to mean your blood relatives, that family can just be that sense of belonging. And you can tell just by the way she reacted to Finn, and how happy she was to see him once they were reunited on Starkiller Base, and just even the connection that she had with Leia, and she'd never even met her. Yeah. After they went back to the base after Han's death. So I think a lot of it for her was that she's not necessarily giving up, but she's just embracing a bigger viewpoint, I guess you could say, which is kind of what she's done with everything, with herself, with the Force, with these feelings that she's always had, and now we're starting to awaken, as she said. So,
yeah, that leads to my next question for you, Taxus. Because by the end of the movie, she's got powers that she never really had before. She says in The Last Jedi that there's always been something inside her and it's starting to awaken, and she's looking for some guidance on that. But do you think it is that drive to find someone that can help her understand what she just went through with being able to, mind trick the stormtrooper, pull the lightsaber to her, channel the Force so she could defeat Kylo, someone who's been training in the Force much longer than she has, and that is what drove her forward?
I don't know. I always took that to be more of a survivor mentality. You know what I mean? Like, she's always been on her own to a certain extent. And maybe when the power manifested itself in her, she's not completely, wow, this is new and strange and I don't know what to do. Oh, I'm dead. You know what I mean? Like, she feels that the Force, and she's instantly figuring out how to be a survivor with it, maybe not necessarily for like the greater good, but just how do I get out of the situation, right? And that's kind of why I always thought about that.
I think there's something to what Jay said with Rey, that she's looking for belonging, she's looking for acceptance, and by the end of The Force Awakens, she's also looking for an answer about what to do with these powers that she's discovered with the Force. She'd never mind tricked anyone before. She had never, manipulated objects and pulled them forward and, fought a lightsaber duel. Now she's done all those things, and she's just seen Han die for something bigger than himself with Resistance. And I think a lot of that's, and her, her new best friend, Finn, is lying injured and possibly dying there on the snow of Starkiller Base. So she kind of rallies to this cause, and not only is she now part of something bigger with the Resistance, she gets an opportunity to learn something about herself. And then when we get to the end of The Last Jedi, it's not only that, she reunites with Finn, and she gets that big hug, which is part genuine affection, but is also part reuniting with the one person that really is still around that hasn't rejected her at some point, because she went to see Luke, and she wanted answers, and Luke immediately throws the lightsaber over his shoulder and slams the door in her face. And then he eventually relents says he's going to teach her a few lessons, but it's to get rid of her. And he wants no part of this struggle. And finally, so she starts turning to Kylo in this connection they have. And they're starting to forge a connection and some belonging. But that ultimately crashes on supremacy after Snoke dies and they fight the Praetorian Guards, because he wants her to join his cause and help him achieve his own selfish ends. But then, but Finn has always just been, all he wanted is for her to be safe. And he begged her when they were separating at Maz Kanata's palace, be careful, look after yourself, be safe.
Yep.
And now, and so now she's kind of finding this home. And then of course there's a scene there on the Millennium Falcon when it's all over and Poe Dameron has not formally met her yet. And he walks up and introduces himself, and she says, "I'm Rey," and he says, "I know," which is just the perfect response. So that's kind of my take on it. Let's kind of wrap up the conversation with the last few minutes we have. Jay, what do you hope for Rey? Where do you want to see her go? Where do you hope her voyage is? Through the Rise of Skywalker and beyond.
Well, I hope that she finds some answers for herself, just to bring closure to some of the mysteries that she's dealt with her whole life. But then again, her voyage of self-discovery, I think, is never going to end. I still hope that, I hate to say it this way, I hope she doesn't have parents, but I like the fact that she's just Rey. You know what I mean? And I've said this before, that sometimes when you give someone, names have so much meaning, and that can be both a blessing and a curse. And so when you give someone, especially a surname, a last name, it really can be very defining. And I want her to carve her own path. So, that's a big part of it for me, is that, yes, I want her to be able to take everything that she's learned and to be able to encompass all of these wonderful experiences with the people that she's gotten to know and have become part of her world. And like I said, part of what she deems to be family, but yet also blazes her own trail. And I do hope that she and Kylo do kind of come to some sort of an agreement, if nothing else, because I think when she literally closes the door on him at the end of The Last Jedi, I don't think she's closing him out completely. I don't think she's basically saying, you're done, dude. I think she was a little disappointed at that point, which she had every right to be. And I think that maybe she was just giving him a little bit of tough love. He's kind of been entitled in a lot of ways. And
let me challenge on that just a second.
Yeah,
do you
go
think
ahead.
It's just tough love? Because he was bombing the Resistance out of existence.
Yeah.
To me, it is the, yeah, but it's the, I'm not so sure. Do you think she still looks at him as the potential savior of the galaxy? To me, I think it would have to be a big surprise to her at this point going forward.
Yeah, tough love is not necessarily, I don't want you to take that literally, that she loves him, I just think that she's basically saying, you know what, if you want any part of me, if you want any part of any of this, you're going to have to earn it, buddy.
Do you want some of this?
And I think that's kind of, and again, that goes back to her whole being fierce. She's not going to settle for complacency. You know what I mean? She's not going to settle for just, you want to, it's okay. It's okay. Okay. I'll let you back in. No, he's going to have to earn it.
What do you think, Taxus?
Well, first off, I have a completely different definition of tough love. That might be disturbing to people.
Different episode.
Yeah, different. That's right. I don't know. Through The Last Jedi, you see her kind of looking at him with pity, with understanding, or, hey, you may not be a part of your world, but you're a part of mine, kind of stuff. And at the end, I just feel like that's completely been supplanted with, dude, you blew it, completely. I don't know. I'm interested in seeing how they reconcile the relationship, if at all, in the next movie, because I don't know how it can be done.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to use this term carefully, but the Reylo community that is really excited about the Rey-Kylo connection. And there's some of them that they really are about exploring this bond that was established over The Last Jedi. And then there's others that are more interested in a romantic connection between the two and hope that they fly off into the sunset together, which I think kind of does the characters a disservice. You can ship whoever you want, but let's be careful about that one. I'm not against her trying to help him find some sort of redemption. And I wouldn't be terribly surprised, and I don't know anything about the Rise of Skywalker beyond what we've seen in the teaser, that if by the end of that movie, he he makes some sort of sacrifice that saves the galaxy from this first order that he helped create. And that's his redemption. And then, he dies or moves on or whatever the situation would be. But I don't think he's one of these characters that suddenly is going to switch to the light and then live happily ever after. I just don't think that's in the cards for him.
Yeah.
But as for Rey, I really hope that, she continues to be fierce, as you were saying, Jay, and that she realizes that, she doesn't need a Luke Skywalker. She does not need a Ben Solo. She does not need those people to realize her potential and realize her destiny going forward. And that when we talk about the Rise of Skywalker, she reinvigorates the Jedi Order through the teachings of Luke and his understanding of the Force, and that there is a balance needed between light and dark, and that you can't necessarily reject all connections and all attachments. But anyways, that's my hopes for her. But that'll do it for our hypothetical. Just kind of think scratch the surface when it comes to Rey here, but there's a lot to be said, and I am sure we'll be revisiting this topic quite a bit, especially after the Rise of Skywalker comes out. But Scoundrels, of course, let us know what you think. All of our ways to reach us will be in our closing coming up in just a minute.
His sparklers have been known to cause dismemberment. He used to make regular pilgrimages to the Temple of the Hills on Jeddah. His firework launches have been known to make starfighters take evasive action. He used to audit the books of the Imperial facility on Scarif. When he grills for the holiday, it's best not to ask what's cooking. His annual vacation used to be ski trips to the snow-capped mountains on Thalba. His beer is ice brewed in the caves of Hoth. He is the most interesting Sith in the galaxy.
I always drink, and sometimes when I'm desperate, I drink Dulce's beer. Stay seathy, my fools.
It's time for
Silence, fools!
Okay, well, we got kind of a short version of Silence Fools. It's been a busy summer for us. We haven't had an opportunity to really interact with our listeners that much. But once again, want to say thank you to Roku Depot, who acknowledged episode 81 with an honorable mention for our discussion of Master Apprentice and Jedi Lost. Then over on Twitter, both Podcast HQ and Steve Long, who is at Otter272, have done a lot of work for us, sharing our show and getting the word out. And that's always appreciated.
We hung out at a celebration.
Yeah, good guy. But I want to spend the bulk of our time here, which is not a whole lot, on Silence Fools. Over on Discord in the Retro Center, one of the users who has the handle Katie Love to Sing VA, which I'm supposed to be think is Virginia, shared a tweet from IGN, who basically posed this question. Now, they didn't have it set up as a poll. It was just kind of they just threw it out as a question, but the question is, would you rather fly in the Iron Man suit or cut things with a lightsaber? Which is an interesting question. And what do you guys think? Jay, if you had to make the choice, would you rather fly in the Iron Man suit or cut things up with a lightsaber?
Oh my goodness. I've thought about this one a lot, and it depends on the day that you ask me. Today, I would pick the Iron Man suit. Quite honestly, I think that would be really cool, and that would be very advantageous for travel, because I hate going in cars places anymore.
I know that,
and I would feel very protected. And then I'd have Friday talking to me. We have a really cool conversation.
Huh?
Yeah. Today it would be the Iron Man suit. Now, you ask me tomorrow, I might pick the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I actually applaud
they're
your
both cool.
Decision to enslave an AI. So, that's cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Dennis, I have a feeling you're going to ask me my opinion.
I am.
The prophecy.
Taxus, what do you think?
All right. I think I'm going to go with lightsaber cutting. Yeah.
Okay.
Mainly because, all right. So I like bagels, and it seems like it takes a lot of time to cut the bagel and then toast the bagel. I just feel like if I had a lightsaber smaller than my own, I'd be able to slice through that bagel and it would perfectly toast it,
Yeah, as I say, before you put that that qualifier on there, I was gonna say I don't trust you with a lightsaber to actually cut a bagel without destroying it.
Batting practice.
Right. As for me, I agree with Jay. I would go with the Iron Man suit. As much as I love lightsabers, I'm kind of interpreting this question literally, which is the option is fly in the suit or cut things with a lightsaber. I just think the experience of flying in the Iron Man suit for a while would be a little more gratifying than just slicing some things in half with a lightsaber. If we
depends on who it is.
Okay. But for me personally, that would be the situation. As far as a little more of a long-term discussion, I just don't know that I would have a practical use for a lightsaber in the long term. But Jay, as you said, having that Iron Man suit, that would make the commute to work a whole lot more fun.
Yeah.
Right now, between my office and home, there's a section of the highway that has a gigantic hole in it, literally, that they have been trying to fix for the past weeks. Now, I normally take the train, but trying to go anywhere else has become a problem. So,
but think about this: if there's a traffic accident, I have actually gotten out of my ship and used my lightsaber in an effort to direct traffic.
Oh, aren't you a good Samaritan?
Yeah, but that's not cutting things with a lightsaber. I don't know.
Not because I direct traffic into the other accident.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Scoundrels, we want to know what you think. So give us a shout out and let's discuss it further. And Discord would be a great place for that too. And that'll do it for Silence Fools. Well, that will about do it for episode 82. But before we go, why don't you guys tell Scoundrel Nation what you two have coming up this week?
As usual, you can find me right here on Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. And you can always check out my archive blogs over at Coffee with Kenobi and my Core Worlds Couture fashion review blogs over there. We've got a new That's a Wizard coming up for SQ Pod here. So Scoundrel Nation, stay tuned for that one because I've got some really cool stuff coming up for you. And I get to record it on my birthday. Or actually, no, it's coming out on my birthday.
What?
Yeah, that'll be on the 16th. So... yeah, if anybody wants to get, send me a copy of Queen's Shadow or, stuff, you can feel free to do that too.
Taxus, how about you?
Well, as a fellow Cancerian, I might say, actually, I'm a Cuspian with Cancer and Leo. That might explain for how crazy. Okay, but anyway, so Geek Supreme's getting back in swing. I was out of town. Other than that, looking for a new yard crew.
Yeah, definitely. As for myself, you can find my recent comic reviews of Star Wars comics over on RetroZap. You can also find my comic discussion each month with Jovial J over on Jedi Journals. For July, we discussed Han Solo Imperial Cadet and had a good time doing so. My wife Beth and I are talking Star Trek on Warp Trails, and you can look for our Star Trek discussions exclusively on the RetroZap podcast feed. Scoundrels, thank you for listening and for your support. If you've enjoyed the show, this has been Starship Sabers and Scoundrels, and we would love it if you would take 1 minute to leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast, especially Apple Podcasts. And I'm going to take a break to tell you guys that it would really be helpful if we get a few of those right now. It's been a while, and that is the best metric for helping podcasts get discovered and spread the word. So please, someone go out there and leave us one, and we will give it an extra special attention on our next regularly numbered episode. And on the other hand, no. As the lawyer in me, I'm putting an asterisk next to that and saying, there will be no monetary compensation for your review.
I didn't mean Earth money.
Okay. On the other hand, if you didn't like this, don't strand us on Jakku. None of us want to go back there at all. Well, if you aren't already, please consider subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Have a friend interested in Star Wars? We'll tell them about our show and help them find it on their mobile device. Word of mouth is the best way to help the Scoundrel Nation grow. Thanks to everyone that has been helping us spread the word on social media.
And speaking of social media, Starship Sabers and Scoundrels can be followed on Twitter and Instagram at SQPod and liked on Facebook, where we are facebook.com/SQPod. If you want to follow Darth Taxus on Twitter, he is at Darth Taxus. Dennis is at DJKVER2, and I am at Joyce Krebs. Don't forget about our page on the RetroZap Discord server. We'll be there talking about novels, comics, and everything Star Wars. You can find links to that in our show notes and on our social media. You can reach us by email at sqpod@retrozap.com. We would love to hear your take on Rey, but we welcome discussion and feedback of any kind. emails, really good tweets, and iTunes reviews. Please send them. And up in Silence Fools. Again, our email address is scubepod@retrozap.com.
And of course, we are a proud member of the retrozap.com podcast network. Please check out RetroZap for other great shows, including the Superhero Suite featuring Jay and Josh, other Star Wars shows such as Kanata's Castle and Brews and Blasters, collecting shows like The Dork Lair, and wonderful shows like the Animanicast, the Argcast, the Deucecast movie show, the Doomcast, Warp Trails, Dennis, Techno Retro Dads, previously on Lost, and We Know Nothing. Also be sure to check out our Scoundrels t-shirts on TeePublic. The link to our store is in the show notes. And they're great.
Okay, well, thanks to Aaron Lay for our show logos, and to James Volpe, the Sky Geek, for our The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly show logo. Thanks to Mario and the Scoundrel players for lending us their voice talents.
And here is our disclaimer. Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels is not endorsed, affiliated with, or sponsored by Lucasfilm Limited and or Disney. The show is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All characters, music, and sounds are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. All else is the intellectual property of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels unless otherwise indicated.
Holy cow.
All right, well, any final thoughts, guys?
You know, just coincidentally, I started working on another death ray gun. It's kind of a hobby.
Wait, another one?
Yeah, that's what the lady Taxus said too, but I don't think she'll let me finish it. The power core is in really short supply.
More than she'll let you spend, huh?
Yeah, I guess that's why they call it ray gun-nomics.
Yeah, well, that will do it for episode 82 of Starship Sabers and Scoundrels. Thanks for listening. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
The alternate cover features Thrawn sitting in a chair in a dimly lit room with a legion of Chiss standing behind him.
Huh.
San Diego Comic-Con takes place from...
I forgot what that dated.
Takes from an alternate cover.
I knew I forgot something here.
Dang.
Place from
July
18th.
July
Okay.
18th to July 21st.
He's part of mine. I don't understand his world, but he's part of mine.